Alright, let's get after it. Today we're diving into a story that's unfolding quietly, but its impact could be seismic. Something big is happening. A quiet, calculated struggle for global dominance is playing out behind the scenes, away from the headlines most people see. This isn't your grandfather's Cold War. There are no tanks rolling across borders, no nuclear standoffs on the nightly news. The new battle is fought in boardrooms, on trading floors, and through digital ledgers. It's a war of numbers, influence, and technology. At the heart is a shift in power, one that's moving from west to east, from Washington to Beijing, as the world's balance tilts. For decades, the US dollar has been the world's money, the global reserve currency, trusted by nations and businesses everywhere. That status gave America unmatched economic and political leverage. It meant the US could borrow cheaply, sanction rivals, and shape global trade. Now China is challenging that dominance not with tanks, but with its own currency, the Yuan. And it's using technology and trade to push its agenda. The main arena? The global energy market where trillions of dollars change hands every year. Oil powers the world, and the currency used to buy it means power. Whoever controls the oil trade controls a huge piece of the global puzzle. For 50 years that currency was the dollar, the petrodollar system, which tied the world's most valuable resource to America's financial system. But China, the world's largest oil importer, is changing the rules. It's making deals in Yuan, and even old US allies are starting to listen, sensing a new era. This isn't just economic theory or something for academics to debate. It affects gas prices at the pump, the value of your savings, the stability of jobs, and America's global leadership. The ripple effects touch everyone. We're at a critical juncture, a moment in history where decisions made now will echo for decades. The established order is being tested. Are we paying attention, or are we missing the warning signs? Are we prepared for what comes next? Are our leaders, our businesses, and our communities ready for a world that looks very different? The game has already begun, whether we're ready or not. The pieces are moving and the stakes are rising. The world is shifting quietly but decisively. The changes may be silent, but their impact will be loud. The question is, will America adapt, innovate, and lead, or be left behind as the world moves on? The stakes couldn't be higher. The choices we make now will define our future. The outcome will shape the century, influencing generations to come and rewriting the rules of global power. The silent shift is underway. Are you watching? Because history is being written right now, and everyone has a stake in how this story ends. What exactly is the petrodollar system, and why has it been so important for the global economy? Let's break it down and see how it shaped the world we know today. Back in the 1970s, the United States made a pivotal agreement with Saudi Arabia. The deal was simple but powerful. Saudi Arabia would sell its oil exclusively in US dollars, and in exchange, America would provide military protection and support. Soon, other OPEC nations followed suit. This meant that any country wanting to buy oil, no matter where they were, needed US dollars. This created a constant global demand for the American currency, making it the backbone of international trade. With the world hungry for dollars, the US could borrow money at lower interest rates, run large trade deficits, and maintain a powerful influence over global finance and politics. The petrodollar system became a hidden superpower for America, quietly fueling its economic engine and global reach. This arrangement gave Washington enormous leverage. When the US imposed sanctions, they had real impact, because the world needed dollars to function. International rules were often set in America's favor. For everyday Americans, this translated into lower interest rates, easier access to credit, and a higher standard of living. The benefits rippled through the economy, touching nearly every household. The petrodollar system propped up the US economy and cemented its status as a global superpower for decades. For 50 years this was the reality, a world built on the foundation of the petrodollar, with America at the center. But now, for the first time in half a century, that reality is facing a serious challenge. The world is changing fast. China and other rising powers are openly questioning the dollar's dominance, seeking new ways to trade and settle payments. The foundation of the petrodollar is beginning to crack, and uncertainty is spreading through global markets. Around the world, leaders and economists are exploring alternatives, new currencies, new alliances, and new systems for global trade. The consequences of these changes could be profound, affecting economies, politics, and daily life everywhere. The era of the petrodollar may be coming to an end and a new chapter in global finance is about to begin. Right now, the next chapter is being written by world leaders, economists, and policymakers. The big question remains: what will replace the petrodollar, and who will lead the new order? The answer will shape the future for generations. The stakes are global, the world is watching, and the outcome will affect us all. Are we ready for what comes next? Fast forward to today. Saudi Arabia, once the cornerstone of the petrodollar, is now selling oil to China in Yuan. This isn't symbolic, it's a strategic shift. China is now Saudi Arabia's top oil customer, while the US is less dependent on Middle Eastern oil. For the Saudis, aligning with Beijing is pragmatic and signals independence from Washington. The old oil for security deal is no longer exclusive. This move is about sovereignty, flexibility, and adapting to a multipolar world. The relationship with the US has grown tense. Saudi Arabia is showing it has options. Selling oil in yuan cracks the petrodollar's foundation and legitimizes the yuan in global trade. Other oil producers are watching closely. The precedent is set. The dollar monopoly is no longer unbreakable. China stands ready to capitalize. The global energy market is changing. The petrodollar's grip is loosening. The world is taking notice. The shift is real. China's push for the Petroyuan is part of a much bigger plan, one that extends far beyond currency. At the heart of this strategy is the Belt and Road Initiative, a vast network of infrastructure projects that is reshaping global trade routes and alliances. By investing billions in infrastructure across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, China is not just building roads and ports, it's weaving a web of economic dependencies that tie these regions closer to Beijing. As a result, these countries become increasingly reliant on Chinese investment, advanced technology, and crucially, the yuan as a medium of exchange. China's approach is methodical and patient, offering loans, building railways and ports, and cultivating political goodwill over years, not months. So when China encourages its partners to settle trade in yuan, it's not a sudden demand, but a logical next step in a long-term relationship. Each new deal settled in yuan chips away at the dollar's dominance, slowly but surely, one transaction at a time. The Petroyuan is the masterstroke in this strategy, because energy, especially oil, is the world's ultimate commodity and the backbone of global trade. By persuading oil producers to accept yuan, China not only reduces its own dependence on the dollar, but also elevates the yuan's status as a true global currency. As more countries begin trading in yuan, a self-reinforcing cycle emerges. Each new participant makes the yuan more attractive and more widely used. China is constructing a parallel financial system, its own development bank, a digital currency, and now the Petroyuan, all designed to challenge the existing order. The world order is being quietly but unmistakably rewritten, deal by deal, summit by summit. At the center of this new system stands Beijing, orchestrating the transformation with careful planning and strategic vision. The Petroyuan is the financial engine driving this change, powering China's ambitions on the world stage. This shift is no accident. It's a deliberate, strategic move with global implications that will shape the future of international finance and power. How is Washington reacting? Publicly, officials project confidence in the dollar. Privately, anxiety is growing. This is a direct challenge to American leadership. Pressure is mounting on allies like Saudi Arabia to stick with the dollar. But US leverage isn't what it used to be. Trust has eroded. Some argue America's overuse of sanctions pushed countries to seek alternatives. Others call for a tougher stance to defend the dollar's supremacy. The debate is intensifying. The core worry losing control. If countries bypass the dollar, US influence weakens, sanctions lose power, and funding national debt gets harder. The petrodollar's decline is now a central challenge for America. The stakes are high, the world is changing fast. Nearly 200 countries are watching this shift. For many, the dollar system felt restrictive, tied to US policy and interest rates. The Petroyuan offers an alternative: loans, investment, and trade without dollar strings. China's approach is tempting for resource-rich, dollar-poor nations. Saudi Arabia's move gives others political cover to follow. Russia, under sanctions, has already embraced yuan trade. Other energy producers are diversifying away from the dollar. The more countries use yuan, the stronger it becomes. A domino effect is underway. The shift is global, not just bilateral. The world is entering a new era. A world less reliant on the dollar would have profound consequences at home. The US could no longer borrow cheaply. Higher interest rates would hit government, mortgages, and loans. The cost of imports would rise, squeezing American households. The exorbitant privilege of the dollar would fade, lowering living standards. America's ability to impose sanctions would weaken. Countries could bypass the dollar, blunting U.S. foreign policy tools. China's influence would rise as the yuan gains global status. The world would slowly reorient around a new economic center. This won't be an overnight collapse, but a gradual erosion. The unipolar, dollar-centric world is ending. A multipolar currency era is emerging. The global order is being remade. The impact will be felt everywhere. So, what's next? The world won't switch from dollar to yuan overnight, but we're moving toward a multipolar financial system. Trade may soon be settled in a basket of currencies: dollar, yuan, euro, and more. Alliances will be fluid. Countries will hedge between superpowers. The old Cold War lines are gone. Now it's a complex, unpredictable landscape. For the US, this is a wake-up call. We must address debt, invest in infrastructure, and rebuild alliances. The world of 2025 isn't 1975. America must adapt or risk decline. The petrodollar story is shaping our century. The shift is happening now. The era of uncontested American dominance is ending. Are we ready for what comes next?